Scrollin', a podcast about the Elder Scrolls Online. I'm Ket.
I'm Davius.
This is episode number 48.
I hear what you're saying is that you miss the Nord theme, and I'm right there with you, man. I agree. I miss it a little bit.
I miss being excited about vampires. Is what.
That hasn't been for a long time.
It's been a while. I want to try a new thing this time. So when I'm not playing ESO, oftentimes I'm watching YouTube videos of other people playing ESO or talking about ESO. And I thought it'd be cool when I come across videos that I think are, extra interesting, that we could share them here on the show and talk about them a little bit. So I have a few here. The first one is from a very well-known YouTuber named Christopher ESO, Christopher with a K. The title of the video is A Hidden Game Mechanic You Probably Haven't Heard of. And the mechanic that he's talking about is what he calls a quick hop. So just search Christopher ESO on YouTube. It's one of his more recent videos, and you'll see it there, A Hidden Game Mechanic. It's really cool. I thought this one stood out to me. Did you watch this one, Davius?
Yes, I did. I had not, and the title was very true for me.
It was true for me too. And I mean, it's something that I've done accidentally before, but I didn't realize that it was possible to consistently reproduce it. Not that it's kind of an advanced technique, that's for sure. Mm-hmm. But basically the idea is, so when you have a speed buff, like Major Expedition, and your character's moving fast, and then when you jump, you lose that movement speed. That forward momentum just disappears. You jump slowly. Then when you hit the ground, you can start moving fast again. But there is a way to maintain that forward momentum while jumping and while holding the block button. And in his video, Christopher demonstrates exactly how to do it. He shows some really awesome gameplay demonstrations of like some 1vx scenarios. And he slows things down and pauses things and really shows exactly, like, you can clearly see he would have died if he wasn't doing this thing.
Yeah.
So it's really cool. And, from my perspective, and Davius, probably you too, like, we've been playing this game how long? Like, I'm thinking, I got my light attack weaving down. I can roll dodge cancel, bar swap cancel, bash cancel. Like, what haven't I learned at this point? And then here's Christopher showing me a new thing, and it's like it's like a whole new, like, I'm having to practice this thing, and it's not easy. It's not just like a reflexive thing I can do right now. So it's cool to have this new thing to kind of have to work on all over again.
It is really cool, and it's a really well-made video, like you said, and it's surprising how much ground you can move with this quick hop. Like, you can make up some ground with it, and he does a great example of kind of showing that.
Oh yeah, make up a lot of ground while, I think the important thing is while holding the block button, because there's really no other way to, like, otherwise when you're holding the block button, you're moving slowly. Mm-hmm. Your character slows down when you're blocking, but this way you can keep your full movement speed, cover a pretty large distance while blocking. So oftentimes, he demonstrates in that video, like, that was the thing it took for him to make it to this line of sight point to keep kiting and recover and all of that. So it's really cool. It's for my particular play style too, I think it's a tactic that I have to master, because it's going to be just perfect for that.
It's a must.
Christopher's really great. His whole YouTube channel is fantastic. I'll probably mention him a little while later. Definitely check that out. Another video that's noteworthy is from a YouTuber named Malcolm. It's just Malcolm spelled the normal way, but it's the first and the last M are both capitalized. That's how he does it. He is one of the very best magsorks that you're going to see in this game. He has tons and tons of like 1vx videos and lots of sort of educational things. Like, if you're an aspiring magsork, you definitely should check out Malcolm. He has a recent video called Magsork Mechanics You Need to Know. And if Malcolm's saying you need to know this, then it's true. You need to know this as a magsork. And I watched it. It's pretty cool. Davis, did you check this one out?
Yes. It is, man. Oof. It is impressive to watch him methodically go through and just how graceful he is with these things.
Yeah, it's very well thought out, and he just does a really great job. You know, you watch those 1VX videos and you see him just like taking on these, hordes of people, and it can kind of be difficult to make sense of how he's pulling a lot of that stuff off in the moment. And I think this goes a long way to kind of show like what you should be prioritizing in what types of situations as a magsork, how you might change your strategy differently versus one target versus a different target, and different things like that. Really, really smart stuff. I don't play magsork a lot, but I love just watching a PvP master of any kind, just kind of break down how they do things. So really, really cool. And even if you don't play a magsork, you want to learn how to counter magsorks, it's probably a good idea. I think sorks are kind of back this patch. If you noticed in BGs, like there's a lot more kind of formidable sorks lately.
Yeah, the magsorks have definitely had a comeback.
Yeah, I think they're benefiting a lot from some of these stat changes and stuff that we've had. So anyway, that's Malcolm. And then one other video is from Grim Hollow. And basically, if we're gonna start doing this segment where we talk about cool ESO videos we saw on the internet, you can probably expect us to mention every single Grim Hollow video that he makes. He only puts up like maybe one or two videos a patch, and they're almost always worth mentioning. So just like Malcolm is one of the very best magsorks you'll ever see, Grim Hollow is absolutely one of the very best stamina Nightblades that you're going to see. He primarily sticks to open world Cyrodiil and Imperial City, but a lot of his stuff will apply to Battlegrounds as well. But anyway, he just released his updated Stamblade video for this patch, and it's for the current state of Cyrodiil with this no proc situation going on. So it's all for that. So anyway, anytime Grim Hollow updates his Stamblade build, you can basically count on that being the meta Stamblade for this patch. So if you're a Stamblade, you probably want to pay attention and either, you might want to do something similar or just be aware that that's kind of how it's being done by one of the best. One thing that I think is consistent amongst all content creators, Davis, I don't know if you've noticed this, everyone's very positive on this patch right now. All PvPers, it seems, in Cyrodiil, in BGs, everyone is just having a pretty good time, it seems, right now. Not a lot of complaints.
The surprising part to me is how the positivity in Cyrodiil right now. Like, they are loving this no proc, which I guess kind of makes sense. I just thought that maybe there would be a lot more people that'd be upset about all these sets you can't use, but man, they are loving Cyrodiil right now. The Grim Hollow video kind of cracked me up just because his build is like this OG ESO build.
Yeah, it's just like Hunding's Rage, right? And like
I think it's Hunding's Rage, agility, and endurance. Like that's his build. Like
just cracked me up. Some real basic stuff. I mean that's Cyrodiil right now. Of course, that's not gonna be the case forever, and in fact, that actually leads us right into our next segment here. Perfect, man. We're such good podcasters.
It's like
totally planned.
Like we know what we're doing.
Totally planned it. So they said that the devs have said that with this next patch coming up, with the big chapter, aka expansion. They're gonna re-enable proc sets in Cyrodiil, so the happy times are over, I guess. But along with that is going to come a proc set rework, in their own words, proc set rework. But they haven't given any more. They haven't given any more details than that, and so I thought we could maybe just talk a little bit about what that could even mean, like what we might even expect. So one thing is they could just simply do what they've done before, which is just make a big, huge list of every proc set in the game and just one by one adjust the numeric values. And that's the rework. That very well could be
Very well could be it.
I think I'd be a little disappointed if that was the case.
I think I would be too.
Yeah. That would be just kind of like just like a hammer and nail, real boring approach. A more interesting approach would be something maybe more systematic. Something I've seen people online recommend is maybe make it so that proc sets can crit again, but just adjust the values accordingly, right? Like maybe cut the damage in half or whatever you got to do. That could be interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Another recommendation I've seen from players like on forums and stuff is, and I think this is really interesting, and it's kind of almost the same thing as the crit thing, but make the effects of proc sets based on your character's stats, just like regular abilities.
Yeah, I really like the combination of those last two, throwing the crit in there and making the effects based on character stats, just like you said. I think that would be really interesting.
Based on character stats would include like your character's crit rate and crit damage and spell damage and all of that. That would be really interesting.
I would really. That's what I'm hoping for. I think that would be really cool. I think it would help with a lot of balance. I think if you're gonna have these proc sets, well, then you're gonna have to make up the stats for having that proc happen. Whereas other people that are going to have number-based stats, they're going to have, just straight weapon damage buffs, but they're not going to be having these procs happen.
Yeah, exactly. And it makes you really have to make a decision. Like, is Malakath Bandit Brutality going to automatically be good in this build or not? Like,
we need a nerf to that thing. As someone who has, I think 3 of my builds have it, we need it. It's time to nerf it. It's time.
Yeah. And I guess that's another possibility that could come with the proc set rework is that Malakath no longer applies to proc sets, which is something a lot of people have suggested making happening. But if they do this thing where procs can crit, or if it's just based on your character stats all around, then maybe you could keep Malakath applying to them and you really are giving something up there. It's not just an automatic win if you do that.
That's my hope. I'm going to hope for that. But there's a lot of possibilities, maybe it's going to be really interesting to see this kind of massive scale change happen to proc sets because there's a lot of proc sets out there.
Yeah, I have to imagine it's going to be something big because to totally disable proc sets completely in Cyrodiil, I don't know. I just get the feeling like they've really been working on some big thing to implement here. So I feel like kind of the pressure's off for me right now. We do mostly non-CP PvP, which is where proc sets are the most volatile.
Yeah.
And I'm feeling pretty comfortable this patch.
Yeah.
I'm not necessarily banging the doors down for a proc set rework now. So I'll be very curious to see how that plays out.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'm in the same boat. I do have one character that has a whole bunch of proc sets on them that I'll probably just kind of leave that character on the shelf just to see, all right, is this something that will still work when these resets happen, or is this something that I'm going to need to change? I think that's the biggest part that I'm hoping for is that I don't, proc sets have been overpowered. That's just what they've been. You throw a Malakath ban on there and it's just this free damage. But I don't want this massive number rework because my worry there would be is that they nerf them all so much that they just all become almost worthless. I like the variety of different sets and different builds out there, so whatever the changes are, I hope that they're still effective.
Yeah, certainly. We certainly don't want them to be ineffective another. I mean, a lot of them, it's some of the most fun stuff. They have really cool visual effects and that sort of stuff. Another thing they could do is maybe go through and overhaul a bunch of proc conditions. Maybe it's the same damage and all that. They don't change the damage or anything like that, but maybe it's not quite as easy to proc. It's not such guaranteed damage. Yeah. You actually have to do a little something to get it to work. That's another possibility.
Yeah, that would make sense. But the only thing about that is it seems like they're going away from those conditions. This is what that seems to be the trend. Yeah. But I would be okay if maybe instead of percentage proc chances or maybe certain sets had, you had to do certain abilities, when you do a melee ability or, when you use a class ability or something like that to proc it. Maybe more
of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, more of specific conditions for sets.
Yeah. So we'll see, and I guess in a little less than a couple of months. So anyway, speaking of PvP, Davies, how have the battlegrounds been going the past couple of weeks?
A lot of damage, but
a lot of damage out there.
I really have enjoyed BGs. Even in the really sweaty matches, I still think they've been really fun.
We're in a really unique patch here. It is so rare that CP and non-CP PvPers are both having a good time. You know, like
everybody's happy. What's happening?
Yeah, it's usually one is well balanced and the other sucks, or vice versa. You know, it's always one or the other. And this is like one of those few rare patches where like both seem happy, which is really cool. Yeah, the BG has been going really well for me. Interestingly, I feel like I just kind of want to keep tabs on the werewolf situation. Even though I've never played a werewolf, I probably never will play a werewolf.
you're still that werewolf build you're making still just right around the corner.
Yeah, well, their journey fascinates me. You know, like this roller coaster of nerfs and buffs and stuff. I've seen a few pretty good werewolves out there.
Yeah.
I think the key is, you know, they're pretty good. Whereas last patch, every single werewolf that I saw was ungodly good.
Yeah,
you know?
Exactly.
So I don't know. It seems like maybe they're in a pretty good spot right now.
I have a werewolf, and I don't think I've even done a battleground with him. If I have done one, it's been very few. But I 100% agree with you there, in that the fact that it seems like this sweet spot, in that we've run into some werewolves. And then every now and then we'll run into one that we think is good. And it's kind of impressive now. It's like, oh, that guy's a good, you know, it's kind of, oh, that's impressive. That guy's a werewolf and he's pretty good. He's tough to take down.
Yeah, and it's not like every werewolf you see can like totally 1vx your entire team. You know, it's like occasionally you see one, but like occasionally you just see a magPlar that can 1vx your whole team. You know, it's not because they're a werewolf. It's because they're good.
Exactly.
So that's cool. Enjoying seeing those doggies out there. And now I can just kind of enjoy like seeing a werewolf. Like I like focusing werewolves. It's just like in my mind, I just always focus werewolves.
That's just what you do.
And last patch, it's like I had to fight my instinct because like, no, that werewolf's going to kill me. So yeah, I'm just going to leave that dude alone. Hope he doesn't see me. So anyway. I've also, Davius, I've been enjoying the major heroism that you're giving me on your new setup on your magPlar healer. What's that set? Drake's Rush.
Drake's Rush. Davius' setup. It's really it's a lot of fun right now. He is bashing people, so he's done a couple points of damage, but he's more just shoving people. You know, just saying, hey, knock it off. It's more of a knock it off shove.
He's no longer totally a pure healer. He's like 98% pure.
He's kind of like he used to be, like your parents, like in public. Now it's like after the kids were terrible and you go back home, he's like, hey, knock it off.
yeah. Now we mean business. That major heroism is nice though, and I've noticed whenever I run with my stamPlar, old Betsy, I normally use Dawnbreaker, but since you have that setup, I started using the class ultimate, the Crescent Sweep, which only costs like 70 ultimate or something like that. It's really cheap.
Mm-hmm.
And so with you having that running, man, I was just like that thing. I would hit probably like every 5 seconds. I would cast that thing, hit somebody with that, and then by the time I go through my rotation, it's up again. You know, it's like just like it's so cheap, and that major heroism and Betsy's really strong this patch, so she's like getting kill after kill after kill. So all that going on, she was getting that ultimate so fast. It was really, really fun. So yeah. I've been enjoying that quite a bit.
I really like what Davies is kind of becoming. He still has good heals, but he's become much more of like a kind of a team support for buffs than just a straight pocket healer.
And you're still kind of, I don't know, I feel like he's not totally locked in right now.
He is not. He's actually, I changed him right before we started recording.
So what's the deal? What's the deal with this guy?
He, right now, the most recent change is that he is running 5-piece Drake's Rush, the Pearls of Elnafay.
Got the pearls back on there.
Put the pearls back on there, because that was the kind of the change. But 5-piece Drake's Rush. I was
surprised you took those off.
Well, you know, you tinkering, a little bit of tinkering.
You got to try stuff. Yeah.
But 5-piece Drake's Rush, Pearls of Elnafay, and then 5-piece Spellpower Cure, and then back bar Maelstrom Resto Staff. And the change that I was kind of tinkering with is, do I want those Pearls of Elnafay on there, or was I going to run the Chokethorn monster set just to have extra heals? But I actually changed. It is tough. I actually changed it, and we talked a little bit about this before, but I've gone back to the Pearls of Elnafay just because that Chokethorn is a great heal, but the Pearls of Elnafay combined with this major heroism, that healing ult, that Resto Staff ult is just going to be, it's going off so much that it kind of makes up for the Chokethorn. Plus, people bash that Chokethorn.
People bash that Chokethorn, and I think of this character of yours as being like, this is the dude we grab when it's like sweaty night and we're going into pre-mades and we need a healer.
Yeah.
And when we're in those kind of matches, you can count on, like, we're going to be dealing with ult dumps, coordinated ult dumps. And so if you can have that Resto ult ready every time that happens, I think that's a lot more valuable than having one extra single target hot running.
Exactly.
So I think that's really nice. And also it's good. In general, I like kind of whatever the gimmick of your build is, just going as far into that as you possibly can. I enjoy that.
Yep. Davis is the definition of that.
I have a couple of characters that are like that too. The build that I've been spending the most time with this week, the build that I've been spending the most time with is my stamPlar Old Betsy.
Sure.
But
everybody knew that. All the listeners knew.
But the build that I've actually been working on is my Magicka Dragon Knight, Misatu Katsuragi. I know, super cool name. Thank you. I've changed her build up. So her old build, her last patch build was full on like cheesy proc build. It was Overwhelming Surge, Grothdar, Black Rose Prison Staff, the Maelstrom Resto Staff, and Malakath. So just 3 proc sets in Malakath, basically, and it was really, really strong. But this patch, I wanted to get away from just that full-on proc build. Well, I say that, but actually, one of the sets that I've switched to is actually the greatest proc set of all time, Torig's Pact. So I'm doing 5 light Torig's Pact, 5 spinner. Spinner's only active on the front bar because I have a Maelstrom Resto on the back bar. Still using Malakath. And then I have a one-piece Doma House monster set, which just gives you max stamina and magic. So it's all about that Torigs and Spinners and Malakath just stacking a lot of damage. If you don't remember what Torigs does, it basically like juices up your weapon glyphs. So like if you have an infused weapon glyph, Torigs makes it like double infused, essentially. So it'll proc pretty much every other light attack weave, and it'll be really, really, really juicy. Torig's Pact is such an awesome set. It's so flexible. Like, just depending on what kind of glyph you used, it determines what the set does. Super cool.
I feel like it's one of the really great underrated sets out there.
Yeah, it really is. It's off a lot of people's radar. Well, and one of the reasons is because it is a very powerful proc set, but it's not a brain dead proc set like a lot of the popular ones are right now. Like Unleash Terror, just slot a gap closer and nothing else, and go crazy, and you'll probably have fairly good success if there's a healer in the group. But Torig's Pact, you have to. It's just your glyphs. You have to be using your abilities and light attack weaving and stuff like that. It's not totally brain dead, but if you do know how to play well, it's very, very powerful. So I just use on my back bar, I have a weapon damage glyph, so I proc that to really stack my weapon damage really high, or my spell damage really high. And then the front bar just has a flame damage glyph. And so every other light attack weave is just delivering this massive amount of flame damage. It's really cool that I really like the idea of my glyph being the most powerful thing in my entire build.
It is a really cool idea. It's a really unique idea for a build.
Yeah, and it works particularly well on a Dragon Knight. I've always thought of Torigs as being kind of particularly good on a DK. Spinner works really good as a front bar only set because it gives you penetration, and so you don't really care about losing penetration when you swap to your back bar. So that's it works really well in that way, and it's a good amount of damage, very good amount of damage, and no weird proc conditions or anything like that. Yeah. Anyway, speaking of Dragon Knights, Davius, I see Lord of Nords on the list here. What's this guy's deal?
Oh, Lord of Nords. I've been telling you this lately. I think Lord of Nords has been my favorite character here of late.
Yeah, I've heard you say that.
Hold on, we gotta have a pause here.
Okay.
We have a baby raid happening here.
Oh, okay.
Lord of Nords. So, as I've been kind of telling you here lately, and I think I'm just, I'm going to make it official, Lord of Nords is kind of my favorite character right now. Which is odd for me, because I've been very pro stamPlar in the past. And so it's weird to say my favorite character is a DK right now.
Wait, your favorite over your Templar main, Davius?
Yeah, I think I'm having more fun with Lord of Nords right now than any one of my characters. Now, I won't say I like him more than Davius, because Davius is just old as dirt, but...
And he would be offended.
He would be offended. He'd say, knock it off. But man, he's just kind of my character that feels really good in BGs right now. He feels perfect if I have a support or healer in the group. Even without a support and healer, he is much more survivable than he's been in the past, and that's really due to some of these changes. I've mentioned in the past that he's got race against time. For a stamDK, that's kind of odd to have on the back bar, but with these extra stats, he's able to run it.
Yeah, you can afford the magic it now.
Yep. He's just really got pretty good survivability. Better than he's had in the past. Now, he still can struggle just because of the way his build setup is. He doesn't have a lot of recovery. Really, his recovery is in his leap.
Yeah.
So there's still times where, he kind of struggles with range magic builds, like hard-hitting range builds. He can leap to them, but if they can, really Sorks, I should say. But everybody's struggling a little bit with Sorks. Is when they streak away, he kind of struggles getting after them. But he's felt really good. He's all around. He's a little bit more survivable. He's a little bit more mobile.
Yeah, he's doing really well. We were running around last night. I was on a support build, and I was amazed at how much damage you were doing. Just jumping into just leaping into a group and spinning to win, and I'm just watching chunks of health disappear.
He hits hard. He's a lot of fun, and that's another big change that I made to him. We had talked about this a little bit. He used to run a two-hander on the front bar, and
I can't make two-hander work. I cannot land a dizzy swing on anyone.
And that was the real struggle I was having with him. Is that I'd thrown the race against time on the back bar, and he was moving quicker, but I just couldn't get a dizzy swing on anybody, and it was just like I felt like I was just so much wasted damage because I just couldn't hit anybody.
Sorks are so popular, and a lot of high mobility builds are so popular in general. It's tough. I have a stamDK, a similar type of build actually to the one you're talking about, and she does use a two-hander. And every time I try to play with her, I get like 2 matches in. I'm like, no, I'm done. I don't want to play with this build because I cannot land a combo.
Yep. And I was just going to say, I had the exact same issues, and it really was just, Lord of Nords was not feeling good, and the character wasn't feeling good, and I just couldn't figure out what was going on. And so I kind of just did this test and threw dual wield on his front bar and went with the rapid strikes and then the spin to win. And it has made all the difference for the character. He feels so much better. Rapid strikes is such a great ability. It hits hard. You can do a lot of damage with that move, and especially I have the morph where the last hit, I think it's like a 300 increase in damage.
You can hit really hard with Malakath in there too.
Yep,
I imagine.
He's got Malakath, and so he's hitting really hard with it, and he just feels really good. His overall setup is, he hasn't really changed much other than the dual wield, but he is running the 5-piece. Not werewolf hide. It's
champion of the
Hiss. Thank you. So he's got the 5-piece champion of the Hiss. So he's in 5 heavy, and then he's running the I'm actually, this is kind of a change that I haven't told you about, but he's running 2-piece Baylorg.
Oh, very nice. That makes sense. That makes good sense.
Yeah. And so
on an ulti-gen build.
Yeah, with how much ult he's going and how much he's using, it's kind of real common to have that buff up at all times. And then the other set he's running, is he's got the back bar. He has the Vatashran two-hander, and then the 3-piece, the ultimate reduction.
Potentates.
Thank you. 3-piece potentates.
See, that's why I write notes of my sets up here.
I'm thinking that as I'm saying that. But yeah, so 3-piece potentates, Vatashran two-hander back bar, 5-piece Champion of the Hiss, and 2-piece Baylorg. And he's feeling really good right now.
That's nice. You mentioned that DK's healing seems stronger now, and I forgot to mention that with Misato, my magDK, but yeah, overall, her survivability feels amazing, and she's really the only Magicka character that I've spent a fair amount of time with so far this patch. But if she's any indicator, Magicka builds in general are feeling so nice. A big factor of that is the fact that healing is so much stronger, just because we have 1,000 more spell damage. We have some extra max Magicka as well, like the class heal, the coagulated blood ability, Dragon Knight ability. No CP. The tooltip is 9k. Like the base tooltip is 9k, and it does increased healing based on missing health. So it can potentially be like a really, really strong heal. Also, just relevant to being a Magicka build, having all that stamina, that's something I wanted to mention as well. Having all that extra stamina on my magDK, and I imagine probably on any other Magicka build, it really, really is nice. I never even think about my stamina bar. I don't even look at it. Like, I block as much as I want to, I run as much as I want to, it's all good. So I've like that combined with the extra healing power, like it's a light armor build, very squishy build. But her survivability is really good.
Yeah, she always does seem tankier than a light armor Magicka build should be.
Yeah. Well, she kills fast. That's a big part of it.
That's a key to that is being tanky, is if you kill the people before they hit you.
But she does. And I make sure to keep my hots going. She has a Resto Staff back bar, and I've just kind of learned how to play squishy builds, and I just keep that situational awareness, try not to get caught out in a bad situation, and it works most of the time. Not all the time, but most of the time.
If you find the build that works all the time, let me know. Okay,
all right. I'll ask one of our guild mates and to send you their build. Some of them seem to work every single time.
That's a great point right
there. Of course, I've been playing with my stamPlar, old Betsy. The main change I made to her is she finally has her two-hander Nirnhoned greatsword, and she was using a sharpened maul last patch, and had been for basically since the character has existed. So finally switch over to a Nirnhoned greatsword. I don't know if it's more damage or not. I think on paper it's technically more damage. It was already a ton of damage. But I do like seeing that extra weapon damage stat on my stat sheet that the greatsword gives me now. And that also does help my healing out. So it makes sense to make this switch. So yeah, it's still just the same old build. 5 Bone Pirate, 5 Deadly Strikes on the front bar with that Nirnhoned greatsword, Master Bow on the back bar, Ring of the Wild Hunt, and 1-piece Bloodspawn. All 7 pieces medium, unless occasionally I'm in a match where I'm dying more than I think I should. Then I have a heavy Bloodspawn piece in my inventory that I'll swap in just to get a little bit more health, and that usually kind of bumps me just up to that HP amount that makes it a little more comfortable.
That's what Betsy is for you right now. I feel like is comfortable. Anytime we're hopping to a match, it's always, all right, is it going to be Betsy or is it going to be this other character? Yeah, Betsy's always in the mix.
It's 50% Betsy, yep. 50% anyone else. Yeah. It's true. It's comfortable every time. And I got to say, this patch, I don't know if I've had a bad match. I might have had a frustrating match or two where there was just some good players in there, But
yeah, I mean, a bad match for Betsy right now is it'd be like a 7-3.
Yeah, something like that. That'd be like a bad match for her.
Yeah.
And no matter what, I'm having a great time. Just it's so fun to play a medium armor, just a build that's basically at the speed cap at all times. With all that damage. It's a perfect build for me. It's like just exactly right.
I'm still working on it with my stamPlar. I'm still getting used to the style.
It takes some practice, that's for sure. Which you haven't put the time in quite yet.
I haven't. I've been playing with some other builds here lately. One other build that I hadn't played with a whole lot, but I tested out last night, and it really only took, maybe we did 2 matches, but it was like, yep, build still works.
Yep, still great. Is
my magCro. Never ending Nord. He's still pretty much never ending. And we got into a match last night that it was kind of the perfect match for him that I was like, yep, this still works. I think it was just a continuous slugfest the entire match.
It was a straight up death match on that lava map.
Yep.
And yeah, it was like a truly good sweaty match where we were just going at each other really hard the whole time.
I don't think the fight left the middle the entire match. It was just the fight was in the middle the entire match.
Yeah, it was just like you said, a straight up slugfest. Which it can be fun, but those kind of matches can get old sometimes. But,
it was a healer's match, that's for sure. I as the support character, that was a fun one for me.
Yeah,
non-support, I can imagine that not being that fun. But yeah, he dropped. I think I ended up dropping over 2 million in heals in the match.
2.1 is what I remember.
He still works pretty great, which is really exciting because we both were slightly worried. For kind of our magCro supports just a bit with these changes, but
they're making out fine.
Yeah, they're doing just fine. He's doing fantastic. Works really well.
It's amazing you got that much because probably your most powerful healing ability is the intensive mender, which doesn't count on your healing numbers in a battleground.
Yep, that's the crazy part is that all of his heals that entire match weren't even counted into the 2 million.
Yeah, it's interesting. It always kind of chaps me a little bit when I play on my magCro. I only see 300k healing, but I know I did a lot more than that because that intensive mender is so strong.
It's kind of weird. That's just kind of, because the intensive mender is considered a pet, I guess. But it's kind of weird because, on Wardens it's kind of the same thing. I don't know if their pets count for the damage, do they? I don't know if they do or not, but...
Well, there's only really one. It's just the bear that kind of, I think, is calculated as a pet. The others are just kind of animations that look like animals.
Yeah. I don't know how all that works because it does seem odd to me that something like the intensive mender wouldn't just count as your heals. It's just an ability. You would think that it would just add to your total stats.
Yeah,
but
I would think so too. And if you look in combat metrics, it counts it.
Yeah.
You look how much healing you did in combat metrics, and it's factored in.
I didn't even check that. I should go and look at that.
Oh, yeah. Well, a combat metrics also counts your heals to yourself and your health recovery. And it just always looks real good in there.
Yeah.
The magCro is looking really good. I play with mine a little bit too, and she's feeling really good. On the topic of necromancers, I've also been spending a little bit of time on my stamina necromancer, Bobby Bobango, who is the magCro.
The magCro.
And he's still using the same setup he's been using for a while. Poisonous Serpent, Sheer Venom, and the Black Rose Prison Bow. And I kind of have been on a little bit of a roller coaster with this guy over the past couple of weeks. So I did a couple of matches with him, and they went badly. They went really bad. And I was like, okay, Bobby sucks now. I got it. And I just kind of put him on the shelf for a couple of days. And then one day I logged back in with him, I don't know, let's figure this thing out. And he's actually really good. I just kind of had to adjust my play style a little bit, and I have to be a little bit more methodical and patient with how I play with him because, kind of like what I was saying before, everyone has so much more stamina now. Everybody, including Magicka builds, everyone's a roly-poly now.
Yeah.
And Bobby has almost entirely single target projectiles. His entire arsenal is single target, except blast bones. And so it's just landing anything at all. It just all gets dodged over and over and over and over and over again. I have to open my combo with poison injection, and I have to land poison injection before I can move forward with my combo, right? So I'll cast poison injection, they dodge it, I cast it again, they dodge, I cast it again, they dodge, cast it again, finally it lands, and now I cast blast bones. Now it's time I have to cast magnum shot. Same thing, I have to land magnum shot before I can move forward. And it's the same sort of deal. They'll dodge it 2 or 3 times before I finally land it. And by this time my stamina bar is drained.
Yeah.
So what I've learned to do, and if dear listener, if you have a similar problem with a build that you're playing, here's what I've been doing that has been helping, is just be more patient. Don't just straight up run up and just start attacking someone as soon as you see them. Watch them for a second. They're probably going to roll dodge. Everyone's just constantly roll dodging now. So just wait for them to complete a roll dodge, then attack them. That's all. Just stop. When you see an enemy, stop, wait for them to roll dodge, then attack them. They'll spend that stamina, and then when you see them, they'll have to spend even more stamina to break free, so you're kind of putting them on the back foot already. Just be a little bit more patient if you're on that kind of build. I'm not used to that because, I play with Betsy all the time, so I just jab, 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 jab. You can dodge all you want, go nuts. So it's a lot different with these single target kind of setups.
Yeah.
But his build is still Poisonous Serpent. Did I already say that? Yeah, I already said the build. Never mind. But yeah, as soon as I started kind of doing that, then he was getting pretty good results. I'm back to thinking he's a decent build again.
That's good. So you're going to end up sticking with the build.
I think so. The only thing I thought about maybe trying is maybe swapping out Poisonous Serpent. Maybe swapping out Sheer Venom with the Way of Fire, which we talked about that set on the last episode.
It's so hot right now.
It's hot right now, but I feel like it would pair really nicely with Poisonous Serpent. It's like one's poison damage, one is fire damage, but they both would be proccing from my light attacks, and it's an exact same amount of damage with the same cooldown, so it would just pair nicely, and they would both proc at range.
That does make fair. Way of Fire with a bow makes, to me, sound like that's a really good pairing in my mind.
Yeah, Way of Fire with a bow would be cool. Which, sheer Venom is what it would be replacing, and that's a good amount of damage as well. But see, sheer Venom, they changed it a little while back, and it's still strong, but it doesn't reach its full potential until your enemy loses a certain amount of health. Whereas Way of Fire, it's the exact same amount of damage every single time. So I might try it. I can't remember what exactly the 2 through 4 piece bonuses were, but I do remember not liking Way of Fire's 2 through 4 piece bonuses as much, and that's important to me.
Yeah. Yeah. So you got to get the stats.
I think it has like an extra line of crit that I don't want or something like that.
Yeah. I think I forgot to mention, there's 2 things I forgot to mention with the Never Ending Nord. What his build is right now. He is wearing 5-piece Beekeepers, 2-piece Troll King, and then a back bar Maelstrom Frost Staff.
Okay.
But you're actually the one who made the recommendation for that, and it's actually worked out really well.
Yeah.
It's been a good change. It's actually bumped his damage up a little bit, and he the other cities that I'm only front barring now is Winter's Respite. And so it's actually worked out really well because Winter's Respite already it's on a countdown and a cooldown, so I can throw it up when I needed to.
Set.
Yeah. So it's actually worked out really well. His whole build is all about that health recovery. That's kind of what he's been. It still works really well.
Dude does not die.
He's a tanky dude.
He's like, we do BGs together, and like I'll die and res and run back, and you're like just there waiting on me, just 4 dudes sitting there target dummying you, and you're like, hey, welcome back, buddy.
He's a lot of fun. He's a lot of fun.
Cool. You've been up to any other stuff this week that you want to talk about?
I don't think so. I'm excited to, next time on the next episode, I'm excited to talk about what Davius and what these changes are. I think he's going to work out really well. I want to do more testing with that Drake's Rush just to see, how really just with a couple different characters of yours, just to see how
Dragon Knights, man.
How noticeable is that major heroism going to be on characters?
I think like my Dragon Knight characters are going to have to like carry a different set of jewelry or something for when they run with that character, just because seriously they'll be able to get rid of a lot of recovery because they'll be getting so much more ultimate, and with that, you know, they have that battle roar passive, so they'll just be regenerating resources from that. Like that build could synergize really, really nicely with Dragon Knights.
Yeah, really, that build and like 3 Dragon Knights in a battleground, that would be.
That could be hilarious.
That would be pretty awesome.
That could be. What if you put that gear on a magDK healer, which you can do?
That's the original plan. You know, I don't want to get away from my original plan. The original plan was this Drake's Rush set on a magDK support character that I will make one day. But
hey, magDKs can actually be insanely strong healers. I've seen them.
I'm excited to set it up that way. Or, you know, a Magicka Warden. I think I've said Magicka Warden in the past.
Yeah.
It's really going to be a Magicka Warden or a magDK. I don't know. I go back and forth. Just depends on the day you ask me. But
I'm so jealous that you like have these like characters that you can make, you know, like you still have never leveled up and learned how to play a magDK. Like, man, I wish I could go back and like learn a magDK for the first time again, you know, and a Warden too.
magDK, magWarden, those are my last 2 that I have never made.
Both super fun. Dude, magDK, I really think you're going to like that character a lot.
I think.
Do you have any names floating around in your head?
Nothing at the moment, but there'll be something.
That's when you'll make the characters, when the name comes to you.
When that name comes into my head, that's when the character's going to be made.
Yeah, that's great. I like that. Well, I thought we'd try a different kind of thing this time. More PvP talk. So we'll do a little kind of segment here. Davius, you and I, we've had a bit of a journey as far as learning how to play PvP in this game and getting good at PvP.
Oh, yeah.
I've titled this segment, Getting Good at PvP. Not that we're the best, we're certainly not.
I still want to be good at PvP.
We're aspiring. No, we've gotten to a point where we're good enough where we have a good time most of the time.
Sure, for sure.
And I think that's really what it's all about. And so we've talked before about like what goes into putting together a decent PvP build and like strategies and that sort of stuff. That's not really what we're going to talk about here. We're going to talk about more of kind of how to approach PvP. If your goal is to be good, to get to a point where you're having a good time most of the time, I think that's what we're going to be talking about here. So I think the most important thing, the very most important thing that you want to keep in mind is that this game is not an esport. Okay? It is not well balanced. It is not supposed to be well balanced, you know. They don't intend for it to be that way. This game is an amusement park, and there are many different rides to ride on. And Battlegrounds is one ride, and dungeons are another ride, and so on. The developers do not intend for PvP to be taken that seriously, and I think it's very, very important to keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Because if not, you're going to run into frustrating situations. You're going to run into OP builds that there literally is no counter against, like that Stam Warden I was talking about last week.
He just hearing you talk about him, he still haunts my ESO dreams.
Yeah, me too. I look for that @ name every time I start a BGZ in here. Oh, thank you. Oh, I hope I never see him again. So anyway, that's the most important thing to keep in mind. It's not truly balanced. It's balanced enough, I think, to have a good time, but it's not truly balanced, and the balance changes intentionally by design frequently. So you just have to accept that that's the game.
Yeah.
So that's rule number 1.
I will say, I do have to make a point. One of the great things to that, though, is that, you know, there's a con to that and what you kind of talked about, but really one of the pros to that, too, is that there's so many. This is one of the few games that I feel like that you can make up a build. You don't have to go online. You don't have to look one up. If you have a build and you like it, then chances are you can put it together and it's going to be somewhat effective. And I feel like that's also kind of really rare, is that a lot of those games out there is that if you want to be good, you got to go online, look up what's best, look up what to do. And this game's just not like that at all. You can really kind of design your own build, put it together, and have reasonable success.
Yeah, I mean, there is a meta to a degree,
Sure.
but it seems like for any meta, there's also something that counters that meta, and then that thing actually becomes the new meta. And, it's always like this dog chasing its tail kind of situation, and it never really settles. But you can kind of pick a build and just stick with it. And I mean, there are people that's like, this is the same build I've been running for 6 years, still fine,
Still works.
So you can kind of try to follow those changes, or you can just kind of find one good trusty build that just kind of lasts the test of time. Like a good stat-based build is always going to be good,
Yep.
So yeah, just kind of don't take it too seriously, I guess, is really rule number one there. And then beyond that, once you're ready to actually start kind of doing stuff to get good at PvP, I think the number one most beneficial thing you can do, it's also very time consuming, but it's the long game, right? Number one thing is to make a bunch of characters and level them up and just play around with them, kind of learn how they work and stuff like that. Even if you don't necessarily get very good with those characters, just going through like low MMR battlegrounds and having a little bit of fun, having a little bit of success, just seeing what it's like to be successful with a magsorc or a magwarden or a stamDK or whatever. It's going to be really, really handy in the future when you go up against those specs, right? Because now you're not going to have to be trying to guess what they do and like, oh yeah, I remember that Haunting Curse is the one, it's going to explode and then it's going to explode again a little while later. Like, you've already been on the dishing out end of that, right? And you're going to have an instinctual knowledge where you're not consciously thinking about anything. You're reacting reflexively because you've done it all before. I can't stress enough how, like, if that's your goal, you want to be good at PvP, just get some experience with every class as much as you can. Mm-hmm. And you'll get to a point where you're not making conscious decisions a lot of the time. You're just reacting in the moment, and it helps a lot.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, that's a recommendation you made to me forever ago. But really, the biggest change in PvP for me was when I started making additional characters, more characters, and the more characters I made, it just changes everything. Because not only do you learn those classes better, but you learn, even if you go back to the class you're comfortable with, now you understand that class a little bit better. So you understand enemies better, but you also understand your teammates better. You understand how to help them better. You understand how movement and strategies. And
it all just becomes like instinct, second nature. Like, you're not consciously really even thinking about it. You just kind of know.
Yep.
And it's so nice. And there's so many different like sound effects and visual effects and things like that you may not even be aware of at all, or you might see it and not think anything of it because you're not sure what it does. But once you've played the classes that are applying those visual effects and making those sound effects and stuff like that, then you just have that knowledge, and like, oh, maybe I need to cleanse that off, or maybe I need to roll dodge right now, or and all that stuff. Like I said, it's just reflex after you've experienced it for yourself.
Yep, so many things.
Yeah. And it's a lot of time, but this is the kind of game that's designed to be played for a long period of time, so just make a character like on a XP event, like what's going on right now, level them up, and it's just fun, give them a cool costume or outfit or whatever, make them look cool.
Listen, here's what you do. You make a Nord, give them a great name, and you're happy. That's all you need.
Starts with a name, then a great outfit, then you figure out the rest. So yeah, make a bunch of characters and just get some experience with them. And I think along the way, I say like you don't even have to get very good with them, but you will find that you like some of those characters and you'll actually want to get good with some of them, and then all the better. You'll be able to counter them all the better. Next, probably very best thing you can do is when you're not playing ESO, watch YouTubers who do PvP commentary videos specifically, and you can just search YouTube for ESO PvP commentary, and there's a whole bunch. I will recommend once again Christopher ESO, far and above, in my opinion, the very best PvP commentary video maker out there.
Yeah,
he's so good. The best thing about it, I mean, he's good at it. But even more importantly than that is he doesn't just comment on his own footage. He has other players submit videos to him every week, and he puts up these videos of these amazing 1vx fights. And he does a play-by-play commentary of the whole fight. So you're getting all these different builds that you're seeing, all these different play styles and strategies and players and all this different stuff with this really great play-by-play commentary. And when I started watching his videos specifically and others like him, I feel like that's when I really started making a turn in PvP, because he's kind of talking through the player's decision-making process in the moment. Or if a player casts a certain ability, he'll mention the fact that he just cast that ability, and here's probably the reason why, and that sort of thing. Or if the player does, like, he makes a mistake, Christopher will say maybe what he should have done instead, and all that sort of stuff. There's so many things, especially if you're not super experienced with PvP. There's just so much happening in any given moment that it's not possible to be aware of all the stuff and to filter out, like, well, what's the important thing that I need to be paying attention versus what I can kind of ignore for now and deal with here in a few seconds from now or whatever. Like, watching those videos kind of helps clear that stuff up. And again, it just kind of seeps into your mind. And later, when you're in a battleground or whatever, and you'll find yourself in a similar situation to what you saw in one of those videos, you're not even necessarily, again, you're not consciously thinking like, oh yeah, what did Christopher say to do? It's not like that at all. It's like a reflex just kind of takes over, and you just kind of start hearing those words again. And it's so helpful to kind of help you know what to prioritize in what kinds of situations and stuff like that.
Yeah, this is something that I honestly haven't even been doing this for a terribly long time, but really watching, these really good YouTubers that are really good at the game. And like you said, they do that commentary, break it down for you. And I'll even, you mentioned Christopher and Malcolm is another good one. And I'll even throw, Fang Rush on there. He doesn't really do a whole lot of commentary, but another great player. Yeah. It's just when you watch them in these PvP situations, there's just, obviously they're elite players. They're fantastic PvP. But as I've gone through and watched these videos and been doing it for a while now, there's three things that completely stand out about their play styles. And really, just pick any of these great players, and it's these three things are just kind of could be said about all of them. And one is patience. They're so incredibly patient. They never chase a kill. They throw the damage on there. Someone could be at 1% health, and if it's a bad spot, that person's fine. They'll let them go. Like their patience is always in play. You can always see it. They're never chasing it. And that kind of goes into my second point, which is movement. Their where their placement, where they're moving, they're so fantastic with it. They're always moving to the right place. They're always very strategic where they're moving. They're aware of where they're going to move, what, line of sight, things like that. And then really the last thing that I think just stands out when you watch these guys is, and this one may seem a little silly, but just composure. You can watch these guys in their videos and they'll get down to like 5% health and you would never even know. Like it doesn't bother them. Like they just go through it. They don't ever have that panic situation where they just start spamming abilities. Like it's, and really just kind of all three of those combined. They stay patient, they stay moving. They never really kind of lose their composure. They don't, chase after somebody really bad. If they're about to die, they don't start going super defensive and start spamming stuff. They just stick to their strategy. And really after you watch it for a while, it's just kind of contagious. I joked with you that, for the longest time I used to only play support. And then I started switching to some damage stamina characters. And in the early days, and even still, it still happens to me now, I can definitely start chasing, and it's such a bad situation.
It's hard to resist.
It is. You see somebody that, and they're in execute range, you just want to chase after them and kill them. But if it puts your team, in a bad movement or a bad position, and you're not patient, and it could just wreck your whole team. You you may get that kill. You may not even get that kill. Maybe that.
Or maybe you do get the kill, but then you also get killed because you get surrounded because you're separated by your team, and now your team's a man down, and so they get overrun by the 4-man squad that's coming up on them, and it can be a real snowball effect.
That's been a big part to me, is you watch those and you see those 3 things I talked about, and it kind of. I don't know. It's kind of exactly what you said. It kind of becomes this subconscious. You watch it, you see them do it, and then when you go into PvP, you kind of are subconsciously aware of it and kind of making it happen.
Yeah, totally. And I think that's kind of the idea, is just to kind of, you don't want to have to be making conscious decisions when it's in the heat of the moment. There's too much going on to keep track of. I mean, how many cooldowns are you keeping track of on your bars and your proc sets and your potion and all this other stuff? So you can't be like trying to say like, okay, what should I roll dodge or should I block? It's too late, So just kind of exposing yourself to these people who are doing, in particular, play-by-play commentary, because that kind of helps sort out what's important to pay attention to and what's not in what types of situations. That's a big one. Next tip, I would say, and this could be a whole other separate discussion, but I just kind of want to briefly say, put together a good non-gimmicky build. And by non-gimmicky, I basically just mean like a stat-based build. Mm-hmm. Proc builds are good, and I have some proc builds, and so does Davius. I'm not saying that using proc builds is a bad thing, but if you're at a stage, you're saying to yourself, I want to get good at PvP. Relying on procs, that's like a crutch that's going to be hard. Like, there's going to be a meta where that's not going to be as effective because the meta always changes. And
maybe coming up soon.
Maybe coming up very soon, yeah. And if you don't actually understand your class and how your class works, then you may be having a bad time at that time. So, I know, like, the meta changes, right? And you'll see, like, okay, the meta is Unleashed Terror and the Maelstrom two-hander and this set, Malakath. And you may be thinking, like, well, if I don't have the meta, then whenever I come up against someone who is the meta, I'm going to lose. That may or may not be the case. Okay, just because something is meta doesn't mean that other things aren't good. And the thing is, Hunding's Rage and Spinner, or not Spinner, what's the stamina one called? Spriggan. Hunding's Rage and Spriggan has always been good, right? It's never been bad. Every single patch.
Yeah, and that's the oldest. That's the oldest time.
Yeah. So I would start as generic as possible and put together a strong build with good stats. And try to rely as much on your class and your abilities as possible, as difficult as it might be. And you might be jealous of the person out there just spamming a gap closer and getting 35 kills in a match. But they're not actually learning to be good at PvP. They're learning to spam a gap closer and over again.
Spam one build. I mean? And that's the thing about procs that you said. They can be fun, but if you're really trying to learn, there's so many things that they can kind of just gloss over, and there's things that you won't pick up and won't learn just because it's like you said, it's that crutch, and it's really going to take that experience from you.
Yeah, and man, we could probably have a whole episode about what your build should consist of, and it's something we've talked about before. But essentially, you're going to need to pick a play style. Do you want to be fast? Do you want to be tanky? Do you want to be stealthy? Whatever, and then kind of go all in on that play style. I will say, just since I mentioned stealth just now, I don't know, it's kind of a iffy topic, but I guess if you're planning to only main a Nightblade and never do anything else, then, go nuts or whatever.
Stay out of Battlegrounds forever. No, I'm just kidding.
But if you're trying to, like, be a well-rounded good PvP player and you're playing a build that uses stealth, again, that's another crutch that once you get used to having it, take it from an original Nightblade main, okay? The only class I played for the longest time. Once you get used to that crutch, it is really difficult to learn to do without it. Mm-hmm. And I basically it felt like I was entirely relearning the whole game once I started playing other classes. So, and that's not to say you can't play a Nightblade. Play a Nightblade, and like that ability, the other morph, is a very powerful heal, a great ability.
Well, and I'd even say, too, is that once you get a little bit better and you learn a little bit more, then you can go back to those proc sets or stealth abilities, and you can just utilize them so much more because you kind of you know the better opportunities and how to better use those abilities.
It's like when you learn how to play guitar. That's why people say to learn on an acoustic guitar instead of an electric guitar, right? Because it's like you have to work harder, but that's going to build up your muscles, and when you get on the electric guitar, it's going to feel like butter. It's the same sort of deal. If you actually understand mechanics, understand how your class works, and how to be good just with good stats, then you put on one of these cheesy proc builds, you're going to be unstoppable.
Yep.
So yeah, it's not an esport. Make a bunch of characters, watch PvP commentary videos on YouTube, put together a good basic stat-based build, and then just rack up a ton of experience and just accept the fact that you're going to die a whole bunch, and it's just a phase you got to go through. But you get in there and you start figuring out what's killing you. What am I getting CC'd too much and I'm running out of stamina and I can't break free? So maybe I need more sustain, but now I don't have enough damage, so what do I need to do about that? And you just match after match after match, just make those little tweaks bit by bit by bit. And I mean, my builds are still evolving. These years later, I'm still in that phase. You know?
I just, like I said, I changed mine right before the podcast.
Yeah, and you basically just stay in that phase forever, and off you go. You'll get a little bit better bit by bit by bit.
And that's the thing too, just like you said, just keep at it, keep going into those battlegrounds. There's going to be ones that are just feel awful and terrible, but if you just keep at it, you're going to have that battleground where you do really good and it feels really great, and it's just kind of a building block from there.
Yeah. Totally. Also, keep listening to Scrolling, and you'll be a PvP god.
That's move that one to the top of the list.
Yeah. Listen to Scrolling, not an esport.
Have you seen this random bug on characters where when you log in and it says how long it's been since they've logged in?
Oh, yeah. Yes.
So I just feel like we have to mention this bug. The original bug with this patch was every time you logged in, everybody on your friends list had logged out exactly whenever you logged in. So that was kind of hilarious in a sense that you would go through your whole friends list and it would just say, all right, all of them logged out 39 seconds ago. And it was like, wow, that's kind of crazy.
All 100 of your friends.
Yeah. And well, today, I was looking at it and I hadn't noticed. I guess they tried to fix it and it went way the wrong way. But yeah, when I logged on today, we did Battlegrounds last night. When I logged on today, it had said it had been 674 months since you had been logged on, which I did the math. It basically means you hadn't been logged on since 1969.
Well, I had to take a break to be born.
I just wanted to ask what ESO was like in the 60s. What were the sets back then?
It was a different time, man.
Hundings, Spriggans,
a lot of indoor smoking.
I just thought that was such a funny glitch that just caught me off guard. So over the top fix in both directions.
Yeah, I've kind of been, part of me's been slightly disappointed at the lack of funny glitches this patch.
It's a good thing, but I do see, when's the last time you saw somebody stand running on their mount?
It's been too long. Don't tell me they fixed it.
I don't know. I'm just saying I haven't seen it for a minute. The standing running mount bug was secretly everyone's favorite bug.
That probably just means performance has been pretty decent, because I think that's performance related when that happens. Some delay causes a sequence of animations to be out of order or something. Well, anyway, emails and shout outs. We have no emails this week. And we have no shout outs this week. You guys need to, step it up. Do something interesting so we can talk about it here. If you'd like to send us an email, you can email us at scrollandpodcast@gmail.com. I was listening back to our last episode. We never said the email address. We made some stupid joke and started laughing and just moved right along.
Well, that's why we got no emails. That's the problem there.
That's the reason.
Send everybody, no worries. You can send all your emails now. All those ones you're waiting to send.
scrollinpodcast@gmail.com. We also have a social guild named Stoons Goons. And really the only reason that we still have this guild is because the name is too good, to let it go. But it's a good guild. We have a good time. It's just basically a casual social guild. We do some PvP. We do some PvE. We mostly just kind of chat about build ideas and kind of do what we do here on the podcast.
At some point, we're gonna get big enough where we'll start having like theme nights. We'll do some runs or something like that. Maybe like even like what if we, exactly. Maybe even I was thinking about this the other day. We should do some sort of Stoons Goons outfit contest for the characters. Which character looks best?
Oh, you just want to create a contest that you automatically win, don't you?
Hey, I didn't say that.
Well, guys, I guess mine's the best again. Thanks for the prize.
It's a daily contest.
That's just me complimenting your outfit skills. Stoons Goods, if you want to be in our guild and talk about build ideas with us, you can email us scrollinpodcast@gmail.com. Hit us up in-game on PCNA. I am at KetSparrowHawk. Davius is at StarJumper. And I think that's the end of this episode. Anything else, Davius?
I think that's it.
All right, that's it for this episode. We'll see you next time.